Hello everybody, welcome to my channel, or welcome back to it if you've been before. Today I'm going to be talking about some life lessons I've learned in my 34 years of existence on this planet as a human being, and I'll be referring to my notes if I can read them, in my trusted notebook here. So these aren't in any particular order, but of course, this isn't like a comprehensive list of every single thing I've learned throughout my entire life. But these are the main things I think that I've learned. At least the main things that I could think of when I was preparing for this video. Of course, there's a lot of other things I could say. And also I'll be sharing at the end of my 34 key life lessons, some like my five, probably like the top five things that I think everybody needs to learn sooner rather than later. So yeah, these aren't, like I said, these aren't in any particular order. It's just kind of what came to me one evening. What was it, about 3 or 4 days ago? And this is kind of inspired by another video that I watched, actually an ASMR video that I was watching, and I just thought, yeah, I should do that, because I have learned. It's only when you write things down that you truly realise the kind of the depths of understanding that you have about certain things, and just how much wisdom you have about things that you didn't quite realise that you had. So let's fingers crossed I can actually read my notes. So we'll just go from how I wrote them in the book. So number one is never be afraid to just be yourself, and don't pretend to be someone or something you're not. So what I'll do is I'll just go through them in the main point of these lessons, and then I'll go through them a little bit more in depth. I think that's the best way to approach this. So let's go to number two then. So don't confuse constructive criticism with personal attacks or attacks of one's character or personality. Number three, you have to know when it's time to leave a situation, place, or people. 4, we have to try our best to get out of our comfort zones and accept that discomfort is temporary. Okay, next, accept and take joy from life's constant state of change. Number 6, be careful not to conflate all memories, and especially emotionally charged memories, with reality. Number 7, be wary of happy-go-lucky types, as well as alphas and the super confident, egotistical type of people. Moving on, number 8, slowly but confidently learn to let go of those who don't match your levels of engagement, interests, energy, or those who fail to try. Number 9, and these are, and I'll explain kind of. I can't. It will take me hours to go through all of these in some real depth, but I'll go through them. I'll spend a few minutes on each one, as I get through the main key aim. The lesson, I guess, is there's a lot of things that I could go more into detail about all of these points, but I'll just break them down a little bit. This is off the cuff, by the way. I wasn't actually planning on doing this video. It's only because of that video that I saw a few days ago that kind of inspired me to do this, really. Okay, so moving on now to number 9. I've lost my place now. Yeah, number 9. Okay, keep learning, reading, trying new things, gaining new hobbies, skills, and interests. So this video is kind of a mixture of advice and lessons, and the lesson part of it will come in a few minutes. Okay, so let's try and get through them as quickly as I can. Okay, so number 10, try to keep yourself in good psychological health. The rest will follow in time. Number 11, your friends or partner are a reflection of yourself. Number 12, living in the past will destroy your soul and everything positive about yourself. Number 13, come to terms with who you are, your flaws, your imperfections, and inabilities and incompetence. 14, if you're discontent with your life, assess why you think you assess what you think has led you to that point. When, where, how, who, whatever that might be. Okay, number 15. Love and loss and bereavement as well. Not just losing a romantic relationship, friendships, parents, families, co-workers even, you could say. So love and loss are both temporary, both obviously have an expiration date. Number 16, death has your name and number written on it. So make peace with yourself. Number 17, friendships and relationships come and go. Enjoy the experiences while they last. 18, money can be your best friend, but it can also be your worst enemy. Be careful what you wish for. Like I said, some of these I was just jotting down things one evening. It wasn't like, if I show you my notes, I mean, you won't be able to read them, but I was trying to get through them as quick as I can because I was tired, and I'm not particularly, I don't particularly like writing. I should have typed these out really, but never mind. Okay, so let's go on. Okay, so number 19. Choose your work, your job, career very carefully. No one likes waking up at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning to be utterly miserable all day, all week, all month. Number 20, for the most part, very few people should truly know who you are, your deep emotions, thoughts, or controversial opinions or attitudes. Keep certain things private because you end up getting into a lot more trouble than it's worth. Okay, so 21 is sex is a great human asset. However, there's always some kind of strings attached, and there's usually some kind of a price to pay for it. And I don't just mean prostitution or things like that. I'll go a bit more into that when I've got through these. So we're at 22 now. You are only as good as your social class, genetics, upbringing, education, and experiences allow. 23, knowledge and education. By the way, I don't expect everyone to entirely agree with these things, and I could have added more points to these things. It was just things that came to me off the top of my head, really. Because it's only sometimes you really have to think about it. It's like what have I actually really learned over the years? Like what have I gained in about myself, about others, about human nature? And sometimes you really have to sit down and really think it through. we can all sort of make, we can all say we've learnt this and this, but it's only when you sit down and start writing about it, it's like, oh, okay, but how have you learned, and what exactly have you learned? And that's what I'm going to come on to. Okay, so number 22, you are only, sorry, 23. Knowledge and education are both vital, but in my opinion, experience it trumps all, and also observation as well. So they're kind of interlinked, really. You can't have. You certainly do need to have knowledge and be educated to kind of get by to a certain level in society and in your job, your career. But really, it's only experience and observation, I think, that where you really truly learn the most. That's where you really learn the most important things, and where you realise just how flawed you are, just how much improvement you need to make to become competent, to become skilled, even talented at something. It's not always the case that people are born with talent necessarily. It's just that there's potential there, but you have to gain the experience. You have to observe and take mental notes of things, whether that's in relationships, whether that's in your work, whether that's in hobbies, learning new skills, whatever it is. Okay, so 24. Okay, so we're into the last 10 now. 24 is self-criticism, a degree of pessimism, and skepticism will serve you well if you learn to master them properly. 25, you will never ever be perfect in anyone's eyes except those of your parents or your siblings. And even then, that's not always the case. But generally speaking, you'll always be more innocent in the eyes of your parents and those closest to you, your closest friends than others will. That you'll always they know that you're imperfect, but that it's kind of overlooked kind of thing, because the people that care about you, they see your imperfections, and that's kind of like they kind of see you as not perfect not completely perfect, but a lot more innocent and perfect than they probably should see you as. Let's say. Okay, 26 then. It's okay to say I'm broken, I'm lost, I need direction, and I need guidance in life. 27. Exercise is one of your best friends, but make sure you're doing it for the right reasons, and make sure that your discipline is in check first. And that discipline is perhaps really the best thing that I think anybody can really have in life. I think especially as you get into your mid to late 20s, as you start maturing a little bit and you have to start getting your shit together, excuse my language, but yeah. Okay, so yeah, that was 27. 28, all ex-partners will teach you things, give you new opportunities and experiences. Take those forward, but don't dwell on the past. Don't ruminate, or don't get yourself into a state of rumination, because I have, and it doesn't. It's just, you don't want to go there. Okay, we're coming on to the final ones now. And I've also mentioned that the 5 biggest, perhaps in my opinion, the biggest lessons, sort of just the extra 5 things as well that I wanted to mention, besides the 34 ones that I was originally just planning to talk about, but then I was like, okay, actually, you know what, I might add another 5 just as an extra thing to the video. Okay, so yeah, so 29. Always maintain a dual personality approach to one's job or career, or just life in general. Keep them very separate, which just kind of goes back to another one that I made, another point I made earlier. Number 30, music, art, architecture, culture are massively underrated, I think, in society. And I think it's important that we preserve the positive, the productive, the process of art. We need to and try not to make everything too political and kind of separate things, I think, a little bit more, and focus on the reasons why we do art rather than us representing things. Like, I think that's something we need to do going forward. I'll come back to that later. 31. Aging actually isn't all that bad. Then again, I'm only 34, so I don't know what it's like to be 60, 80, 90. But obviously I'm not a spring chicken anymore, and I've got to stop doing this with my hat, but it's kind of, I think it's a nervous thing. And I've got to stop doing that as well. Very self-conscious at times. Right. Yeah, so aging isn't as bad as some people think. It's you have to take it like I've put here. If you approach how precious life is, and the fact that you're still alive and well, and hopefully for the most of you are well and healthy, aging's in some ways it's a blessing, because yes, you do miss things about being your younger self, but at the same time there's new things that happen to you, and interesting things, and you get new perspectives and wisdom, and you get opportunities to look back and to understand yourself better as you get older, I think, and to appreciate yourself in certain ways perhaps more. But having said that, life does get, I think, psychologically speaking, a little bit. Look, every life stage has its uphill battles, and swimming against the tide kind of thing, and there's no perfect. I don't think there's any perfect life stage, but we all reminisce, and we all look back, and but I think you've got to. I think what my point is that I think you can't fight it. You've got to somehow try to embrace the age that whatever you are at any given point, whether that's 5, 15, 30, 50, 70, whatever it is. You've got to find things to like about yourself in that period of your life. Especially as you get past, I think, especially as you get towards middle age and into your later years. Okay, so we're nearly at the end of these. 32. Materialism and consumerism may be useful, but they're essentially a mask that we wear to create society, because of obviously we live in a world for the most part of capitalism, globalism. So the kind of masks, the kind of things that, but don't be fooled by marketing. Advertising is marketing is certainly useful things, and in some ways, they certainly have the place. But I think we have to be careful about who we are, what we are, and not kind of. I think we just have to see society for what it is, really, and not what we want it to be, because society is there's a kind of fake, there's a kind of superficial nature to society. It's certainly in the West, I think, certainly now, than there used to be. And I think, look, we all need to have things to or I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong to having to purchasing things and wanting things and to having an existence that suits you in terms of things that you want to buy and whatever. But I just think you just have to. I just think, in my opinion, the more minimal a life that you have, I think the happier you are in certain ways, because I think the more stuff that you buy, it says a lot about you, in my opinion. Yes, it is, and I don't just mean in terms of like your social class or your financial situation or whatever. I just mean that, you know, it can be a mask, and it can also be masking something up as well. So that, I think that's important to be aware of. Okay, last two of the main ones anyway. 33. Trust and respect are perhaps the two most precious things that we can have in this world. And 34. Choose your regrets carefully. One day, whether it's tomorrow, next year, 10 years from now, whatever it is, you know, you could be lying in a hospital bed, you know, getting ready to die potentially, you know, or something. Or one day you'll just get old and you'll be left with, for the most part, you know, you're on mirror image, you know, you'll be left with yourself pretty much. And you know, just choose your regrets very, very carefully. But obviously, you don't always know what you're going to regret, though. That's another thing. So you can't always know, but just be careful what you do or you don't do, because you never know. You just never know. You know, you do things in the moment, you don't always realise the impact it's going to have you a bit later on in your life. Okay, so just as an extra thing, I made some of what I called 5 key lessons. Of course, all of those things I've just said, they're all massively, you know, you could spend an hour on every single one of them, but I'm not going to do that, obviously. So the 5 key lessons. If you wonder why I'm doing this with my hand, is because I have pain in my wrist. I've had it for quite a while. It's not very pleasant. Should move my arm out of the way. Okay, so these are just as an extra part to this video. This wasn't originally going to be included in the video, but I just wanted to add these as well. So number 1, your gut instinct. Your gut instinct will save you. Will save your life. Your soul and your heart, listen to it. And I certainly wish I had at times in my life, especially when I was in my teens and very early 20s. Okay, number 2, time is ticking away. You're not getting any younger. Are you who you want to be? Are you where you want to be? Are you what you want to be? Are you how you want to be? You know, are you in a place in your life where you're happy, or where you're content at least? If not, you know, you've got to ask yourself why and make some changes, and that's never easy. Number 3. Do you truly know where you want to be? You know, do you know where you're going? Do you know why you want to be there? And I'm not just talking about a physical place. I mean, you know, are you trying to reach some sense of spirituality, or some kind of transcendental, some kind of tranquility. Are you trying to reach a certain emotional space, a psychological space, a physical space? And I think it's important to psychoanalyze yourself. It's important to reflect and to really look at yourself in the mirror and be real with yourself. Days go by, and the weeks, the months, the years go by, and sometimes you're kind of just wasting life away. You're just wasting the time away, and you don't you get so caught up with everything, with whether it's raising children, starting a business, or having it just trying to pay the bills, and your job, career, whatever it is, and just trying to basically survive and get by. But it's like, I think at times you've really got to truly be real with yourself. For you don't have to. It doesn't have to be this long drawn out process or something, but you do have to sit down and start thinking about your future and even just your present. It's like, are you where you want to be? Are you really doing what you want to do? And are you really happy? Are you really genuinely who you want to be? And in an emotional, psychological space that you're happy to wake up with every morning and tolerate every day. That's something that only you can come to terms with and deal with, and that goes for me as well. Number 4, banter, jokes, flirting, passing remarks can sometimes just be that. It can just be a bit of lighthearted, just a bit of fun. But I think my point with this one was like, be really, really, just be careful not to become too sensitive and wear your heart on your sleeve too much, because I did that for a long time, and I sometimes still do, and it just doesn't pay off. It doesn't. Yeah. Look, there's definitely, obviously, there's a big difference between those kind of things and people mocking you, belittling you, trying to degrade you and put you down, put you in your place. Don't let other people try to control. Don't let other people allow you to find yourself in a circle of constant criticism and self-doubt and being insecure. Find somewhere to be empowered over your own thoughts and your own emotions. Don't let shit get to you, I guess. Don't let people grind you down, because unfortunately some people take a lot of pleasure in doing that, because they're weak-minded, they're cowards, they're bitter, lonely, incredibly messed up people. And I've met a few of those, and I'm certainly not perfect, but I certainly don't try and put people down or make people feel insecure about themselves or anything like that, or make people just try, for the sake of entertainment or for the sake of being popular among people, whatever the case is. I think that's incredibly cruel, and that's not me. And I feel sorry for people who, because I've been on the receiving end of it. I know what it's like, but I also know what it's like to be overly sensitive and to take too many things to heart, when people were genuinely just having a bit of a crack and having a bit of banter. So you have to somehow learn to differentiate those things, because there's a big difference between sort of malicious stuff and just sort of just people just trying to have a bit of a laugh, whatever. But there's sometimes can overlap as well from time to time with certain people. So sometimes you don't always know where you stand with some people, and that can be confusing, and you want to stay away from people like that. Okay, so the last one then, one of my key points, 5 key points, was this: find the palace of peace, and find it when you're young, and hold on to it through the hard times and the years to come, because they will come. So that's it. They're my 5. Of course, there's pages and pages and pages of things that I could have written and other life lessons, but these are the things that came to me 3-4 days ago now, whatever it was. I might make another one of these at some point in the future, but for now, these are the things that I wanted to share with you or anybody that comes across this video. So now I'm going to go into as not going to break them down too much, but let's try and go through them. I'll try and go through them with a bit more insight, a bit more depth to them. So number 1, never be afraid to just be yourself. Don't pretend to be something. Now, I wrote that because I did do that when I was younger, especially when I was in my late teens, early 20s, unfortunately. Not all the time, but from time to time, because I didn't want to be seen as an outcast. I wanted to fit in, and I didn't want to stand out, or didn't want to sort of put a target on my back, kind of thing. So I sometimes kind of put on a bit of a front, a bit of a facade sometimes with some people, not like with some kind of like malicious intent or anything like that. Just that, sometimes it's easier to pretend and than it is to be honest and real, and it's especially when you know that it's being your true self, being your real self, being honest might bring you enemies, or might lead to some kind of arguments, or bickering about something, whatever it is. And so sometimes it's easier just to put on a kind of a facade. But I think as you get older, you kind of drop that crap, and you kind of stop giving a fuck, quite frankly. Again, I'm sorry for the swearing, but just being real. Okay, so for number 2, I said don't confuse constructive criticism with personal assaults or attacks of character. That goes back to one of those key points that I mentioned. It's very easy to become very defensive and sensitive about things. And I know with my ex-partner, she used to say that I was very sensitive and very defensive, and she's right, I was. And I sometimes still am. I'm not afraid to say that. I have imperfections, I have flaws of character, my personality, that I need to constantly work on, and I will probably for the rest of my life. So there are things that you have to try and manage better, I think, as you start getting a bit older, because it just looks a bit pathetic. It's all good and well when you're young to have issues, because you're still young and you're still learning and growing, maturing, whatever. But I mean, of course, you're always learning, growing, maturing throughout your entire life. Even people up in the 80s, 90s probably still learning, maturing in certain ways. So you're always growing in some capacity or other. But just be careful with. Just don't let things get to you so much that they eat you alive, kind of thing. That there's these sort of mental psychological piranhas, whatever, emotional piranhas. Just be very, very careful, and just laugh things off if you can. Just laugh it off. I mean, even if the worst thing you can do is to make yourself your own worst enemy, especially when you're around men, because men tend to be very predatory in a sense of they sniff out weaknesses. They tend to sniff out the weak of the group, the weakest link of the group kind of thing. So as soon as they sniff that, they won't let go of it. It's like a dog with a bone or something. But sometimes women can be just as bad with that stuff. I've found that it just. I'm not trying to generalise or stereotype or anything like that, but it's just my experience of things over the years. So number 3 was know when it's time to leave a situation, place, person. I wrote that because I wrote it because I stuck around too long with certain friends. Probably with my ex-partner, and I should have really just let go of all of that stuff back in 2011, and rather than sort of clung on to some perception of the person that really wasn't. I was in a state of infatuation, I guess, and it was one of those whirlwind kind of things. I was young, dumb, and full of cum, that kind of. Full of testosterone kind of thing, and I was desperate to get into. Let's just be real about it. I was desperate to have, intercourse. Basically, I was desperate to. 2020 on, I didn't have any real sexual experience with anyone, so I was in a kind of sexually frustrated, I guess, and so I kind of clung on to what I thought. It wasn't all about that, but part of it was. As a lot of it is with young men, it tends to be that you find yourself very sexually frustrated, and there's only so much you can do with your own hands, kind of thing. Sorry to be crude about it, but let's just be real. So there comes a point where I think you really genuinely do have to say to yourself, this is not working. This job, this career is not working out. This relationship hasn't worked, and so I don't blame my ex, and as well was the fact that I cheated as well. Let's be completely open about it. It was never planned. It was not really. It was just kind of. I was depressed. I was lonely. I'm not trying to make excuses up for it, and it wasn't working out anywhere in the end. But still, I was a coward, and I was a fool. And I should have just been honest, and I should have just, I had some balls to be open and honest, and to go my own way, and really I should never have gone back into that whole situation, but that's a whole other thing. So yeah, situations, places, if a place isn't for you, fine, that's okay. You always, you can try to find a way to leave it. Do something else, go somewhere else if you can. It's not always easy or even possible for some people, but if you can, try. Have had jobs that I didn't really want to be in, and I've left jobs in the past because it just wasn't suited to my personality. It just didn't work out, and also I was incompetent. I wasn't good at the job, and so you have to say, you'd have to get to yourself to say to yourself, look, that wasn't right for me anyway. It wasn't right for me. It's not what I wanted to do. I wasn't particularly very happy, or didn't really enjoy it that much. So it's not really that big of a deal, really. There's things that I don't think about that much. Certain jobs and things and people that I've met, it's like I don't really miss them that much. It's like, yeah, you think about them from time to time, but I'm glad that it's over with. I'm glad it's done with. I'm glad that's all in the past. I couldn't really give a fuck, to be honest. I'm glad that it's all in the distant past now, and that's good. So again, yeah, just know when, prepare and plan, and get the fuck out of whatever it is that's holding you back, or whatever it is that's destroying something of yourself. And I don't blame people for letting me go, whether it's jobs, friends, potential love interest. I get it, I understand, but I've also I've done it myself. I've been on the receiving end of it, and I've also had to do it with other people to make those decisions about other people. So it's all a big learning curve. I get it, I understand. I don't really hold too many grudges against too many people. Not really. certainly not happy about some things that happened in the past, but you just have to kind of just, that was then, that was a version of you then that doesn't really exist anymore for the most part. Okay, so hopefully this video doesn't end up with 2 hours long. I hope it doesn't, but let's just see how we get on. Yeah, so try your best to get out of your comfort zone. There's nothing worse, I don't think, than getting stuck in a cycle of comfort. And I say that from personal experience, because you don't grow, you don't mature, you don't learn anything, you don't do anything different, you don't meet anybody, and you just get stuck in a rut, and it just starts to sort of seep into everything, and before you know it, you're really depressed and suicidal, and you just think, what the fuck is my life? What has it come to? Right? And you hate yourself. You hate the way you look, you hate the way you sound, and you just lose all confidence and just become apathetic, and you end up in a state of constant self-pity, and it's just not right. It's not fair on other people, because it's like, they don't deserve that necessarily. I mean, unless they're partly causing us or something, or to some extent, not helping anyway. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it is up to you to try and pull yourself out of that rut, to pull yourself up, and somehow find ways to feel better about yourself. And that doesn't mean you're always going to feel better, because there's always going to be ups and downs. Always going to be shit days, great days, average days, boring days, mediocre shit. But that's just life. This is the way it is. But yeah, comfort. You have to find a balance between. You can't go too excessive, too extreme, because you don't want to be overly out of your comfort zone, because that doesn't do you any good over time either. So you have to try and find some kind of a balance. Accept and take joy from life's constant state of change. That kind of links to the last point, the previous one I've just made. Because staying in change is, if you don't change, the years just pass by, and before you know it, 5-10 years have gone by, and you've done fuck all. You've done nothing with your life. You've been nowhere. You've met no one. You've done nothing. You've had no new opportunities. You've just done nothing, and you have to embrace change. Because it gives life its energy and freshness, and it's like a spring, that spring kind of feeling to life. It's good to have change. But you have to embrace it. You have to accept it for what it is, and not long too much for the past, and try not to live in the past, because by God, you'll end up in some dark places, man. You will. I tell you, it's you don't want to go there. You don't want to go there. Trust me on that. This is a great one. Don't conflate all your memories, emotionally charged memories, with reality. The amount of times I've done this, and you learn something later on, it's like, oh, really? I was wrong about that? Or just saying things that you thought you knew everything about in a memory, and it's like later on you realise, oh, shit, didn't quite know the true reality of that, did I? Be careful with your memories, because they can trick you, and the whole rose-tinted glasses thing is very real, and your memories can destroy you if you allow them to, and they can really fuck with your outlook and your confidence, especially. Your memories aren't always accurate, as I've wrote here. They aren't always accurate. They're kind of skewed sometimes. You don't always know the exact full details, and as well, especially when you're younger, you have a certain colour of your perceptions of your memories. You're looking at things from a distance. You're not seeing the entire thing. You're not seeing the accurate picture of something for when you're looking through your memories. To not entirely. Especially with regards to things like friendships and romantic interests, and especially when you're thinking about when you're younger, or just even really any period, but certainly when you're in your teens, your 20s, where you're kind of still growing and you don't quite fully understand yourself or others just yet. So be very, very, very careful with that. Now, I say this. The next one has a put beware of happy-go-lucky types. Now, that's not me being insecure or feeling threatened by those type of people, because they don't threaten me. But what gets to me sometimes is when is those people, like if it's a genuinely happy-go-lucky type, where they're just like bubbly and friendly and whatever, and confident but not arrogant, then I don't have a problem with that. I find that attractive actually, and I find that to be that very uplifting, and that can be really useful for people like myself or introverts who sometimes kind of need a bit of a boost from people. So sometimes those people can be very useful, and I don't mean that in some kind of manipulative way. I just mean that it can be good for you to have those kind of people around you. It can help you lift your mood sometimes, but there's a difference between people being confident and feeling happy and good about themselves, and being outgoing and whatever, extroverted. There's a difference between that and people who put it on as, or wear it as a mask to compensate for something else that they're lacking. So egotistical types of people, these extremely ambitious types, you tend to find underneath the surface, not with all of those, but a lot of those people, that there's something else going on there. There's usually some kind of trauma somewhere, in the past or not too distant past. There's something, they're insecure about something, somewhere, whether it's going to the gym and trying to get bulk because they're insecure about the height or the way they look or something, whether it's putting on this kind of overly confident kind of persona because deep down they're really they don't really like themselves, but they don't want to, but they like the attention. They like to be the center of attention, be the the especially find that with like psychopathic types of people, sociopaths. They tend to be like that. So you've always got, you kind of have to be a shark almost. You've got to be very observant of people, and you've got to analyse people. But you've also got to analyse yourself as well. Be careful that you're not projecting, and be careful that you're not, rubbing people up the wrong way too quickly. Give people time, but don't be foolish. Don't be naive, and observe and take mental notes of people, and at some point make a judgment. It might be wrong, it might be right, it might be wrong. Slowly but confidently learn to let go of those who don't match your levels of engagement, interests, energy, or those who fail to try. I've been around people that didn't meet my expectation, didn't have certain interests, and even to some extent my wife is like that, and that's probably why eventually it won't work out, and we'll end up going our own ways. But for the time being, it's kind of working out to some extent. But we'll see how things pan out over the next few years. I'm not giving up on it, but this kind of applies really to. It applies to friendships. It applies to your job, your career. You want to be around those that you share things in common with. The things that you can spend time having a laugh about, talking about, having a debate about. And that doesn't mean you have to. And I'm not saying that by this, I don't mean like, oh, you have to be like across the board, you have to be in agreement with each other, or you have to be exactly the same about everything. And that's not what I mean. I just mean that I think there have to be certain things that there's got to be certain compromises, but there's also got to be, you've got to also have standards, and you've got to have expectations, and certain criteria that I think that you should have. I think you should have certain, not rules, but there has to be certain things. I think that you just got to be real with yourself. You've got to be honest with yourself, and you've got to say, does this person does this person truly get you? Do you get that person? Do you really truly work as friends? Can you really be open and honest with each other, transparent with each other? If not, that's kind of a deal breaker to me, because otherwise, you end up with seething resentment and passive aggressive behaviour otherwise. And that last point, I've struggled with all my life, and I think it's a cultural thing that I grew up with, but also it's learned behaviour, and it's something that I've tried slowly but surely. I think I'm better now than I used to be, but I still have problems with it, and that's what you don't want to end up with. You don't want to end up in this situation where you just end up hating somebody. It's like it's under your breath. You don't want to end up having to rely upon people or need people, but deep down despising them, kind of thing. So just be careful with the people that you surround yourself with, at work especially, but certainly in your private life, because that has a bearing on other areas of your life, including romantic relationships, but also family connections to some extent. Okay, so I'm going to try and get through the rest of them, hopefully within the next half an hour or something. And I hope this video continues for at least 30 minutes. I'm not sure how much memory I've got on my iPad here, but I really wanted to just break these down. I'm sorry this video's gone on for quite a bit, but I think it's important for me to clarify what I mean, to provide some kind of details about these points, rather than we can all say things, but can you actually back it up? Can you provide some kind of context? Can you provide some kind of reasons and how you've come to this, and can you give an example of it? And that's what I'm trying to do. Keep learning, reading, trying new things, gaining new hobbies, skills, interests. I think that's important to give you some reason to get up in the morning, to give you some reason to stay motivated, and to keep yourself kind of positive, really, because I think once you lose your interests, which does happen over time, or certainly lose certain interests, there's the gloss kind of wears off of certain things over time as you get a bit older. You have to find things to replace those initial interests, or find a way to rekindle things, because you can have interest for years, and then all of a sudden you just stop being interested in certain things. Like I used to be a lot more interested in electronic music, and I found myself over the past few years, even with classical music, but certainly electronic music, being kind of less and less interested in it, and I don't particularly have any real desire to do that much mixing, DJing anymore, really. I still collect music, but I don't. I think I kind of experienced some, a bit pathetic to say, but maybe some degree of burnout with it, in a way, and that applies to a lot of things. You can experience burnout with the most passionate of interesting things. It could be a whatever career, hobby, occupation you have. It could be some sport, it could be music, it could be whatever it might be, dancing, singing, knitting, whatever it might be. It can be anything, and you just don't realise how quickly things can change like that, you know. And I certainly didn't think I would ever lose interest in certain things, but I think you just gradually but progressively, you just start changing. You just as you get older, you start seeing things in a different light, and things aren't, the magic wears off of things, I think, as you get older. The world's not quite as sparkly, let's say, certainly not as blissful as you thought it was, and you know, the naivety wears away, and you start seeing things. You have new perceptions of the world, and your interests and hobbies, and it can be a difficult phase of your life when you start to lose interest in things that you were really once so enthusiastic about, and it's tough to deal with, and it can be difficult to get back into things, and some things you might not ever have the same level of interest in again, so you have to find some new things to occupy your time and your to deal with whatever stresses and issues are going on in your life at any given point. Try to keep yourself in good psychological health. Now, the reason I said that is because I'm someone that struggled with self-motivation, goals, setting myself goals, completing goals, and certainly with exercise, but certainly even other things like academia. I always had problems with that. Always had issues getting myself started with things, but mostly I've always had problems with discipline, maintaining a certain level of energy over things and interest, enthusiasm, and I think it's because I've always had problems with my mental health certainly from being a young teenager, and I think in some ways it's got worse over the years. In other ways it's got a little bit more manageable, but in other ways it's got a lot worse. But I think I've been able to deal with it a bit more because I'm older and a bit more mature, and I've got to know myself more, and I've got to, I don't know, just somehow managed to cope with it. Whereas I think when I was younger, it would have been a lot more overwhelming. So yeah, do what you can to keep yourself in good psychological health, whether it's getting therapy, and I've been there, done that, got a t-shirt. I've been down the cognitive behavioural therapy route a few times. Never really got into the whole medication thing. I never really wanted to. I didn't want to become a robot. I certainly didn't want to become addicted to antidepressants and things like that. So probably should really have gone down that route, but it was just a personal choice, and maybe it was a poor one, and something I should really at some point perhaps just kind of have to accept that might have to be the way that I have to live the rest of my life, maybe, whether I like it or not. So you've got to stop living in denial at a certain point, and you've got to say to yourself, I'm not well up here. I might be outwardly, I might look okay. No one bats an eyelid. No one thinks anything different. Looks, David's fine. He's all right. It seems he's got a good sense of humour. He's got a good work ethic for the most part. Okay, he says some stupid things, does some stupid things from time to time, but he's a decent guy. That's true. That's all true. But up here, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of damage. There's a lot of trauma that I don't think therapy really truly helped me with. And maybe as well, maybe I just wasn't ready to change. I wasn't really truly dedicated to really getting myself better. So you've got to find ways to do that. I don't know what that is for you. I think for me it's kind of been a mixture of music, or at least managing things, music, exercise, being focused on just doing something, whether it's cleaning, whether it's organising your room or something ridiculous, writing, playing some musical instrument, writing poetry, finding an outlet for you to deal with all of that darkness and that that horrible, nasty psychological state that you can find yourself in, that this crushing sense of disappointment in yourself, and this cycle of apathy, and this inner frustration that you can't seem to. It's really fucking dark, and it can really really mess you up if you don't deal with it somehow. So try and get your diet in check, try and get some exercise, find somebody that you can talk to about things without them being too critical or judgmental. Find something, find some way, find something to get you through it, because if you don't, you won't win. You won't win, because you're already, there's clearly something that's not working up there. Something is not. There's not enough. Your mental strength is not there. There's something lacking. There's something not developed somewhere. There's something that's gone wrong. There's something that's really screwed you up, and you haven't been able to cope with it healthily for whatever reasons, or you haven't found enough coping mechanisms that work for you, or you maybe just haven't tried hard enough, or haven't tried for long enough. Maybe do what you can to take care of your to take care of your mind, because then your physical health will be easier to deal with, and you'll also be better able to deal with your emotional, to control your emotions better, and not let yourself be determined by other people's attitudes and thoughts and opinions and beliefs and perceptions of you and judgments of you. Find something to be inspired by, find something to focus on, read things, learn things, do some things different from time to time, and if nothing else, just even do this. Make videos. This is what I do. This is one of my outlets of dealing with things. Find some medium that works for you, whether it's having philosophical discussions with people, whether it's creating art, whether it's being passionate about an exercise regime in the gym or at home, or some sports activities, traveling, whatever. Okay, I'm sorry. This has become a lot longer video than this was ever intended to be, but this stuff matters. This stuff's important to me, and I hope that whoever, if anybody watches this video, that you'll learn something. You might take some kind of, it might maybe it motivates you, maybe it inspires you, and perhaps in some way, maybe. And if it does, that's great. And if it doesn't, that's fine. I just wanted to do this. This was something that I felt that I needed to do at this point in my life, I guess. But also because of that video, it was very, very interesting, and the guy that was in the video was a lot wiser than his years. He was only in his early 20s, it just shows you. You can be young, but you can be wise for your years. Even if you haven't always had the experiences, you can still be wise and know a lot of stuff. It's an interesting thing, that. Okay, so let's move on then. Yep. So your friends, your partner, they're a reflection of yourself, your self-image, your how you perceive yourself. They're a perception of your specific type of personality. I believe, as far as I'm aware, I fall somewhere on the neurodivergence spectrum or scale, whatever you want to call it. I probably do have some level of autism, Asperger's, ADHD. I certainly have OCD from time to time. I've battled with. I've sometimes had panic attacks. I've had anxiety, depression. The last two issues have been predominantly the main problems that I've had more than anything else over the years. and I think that has reflected in the people that I've been attracted to, things I've been attracted to, in terms of like porn, for example. Not that it's got really anything to do with this video, but it's kind of related to what I think. I've always kind of liked, I think, more dominant women, sexually speaking. So I think I've tended to be more submissive in that way. And I think it's socially speaking, in terms of friendships, I've always felt kind of more submissive and a little bit more I've always, I don't know, I've kind of been overshadowed by those main friends that I hung around with when I was younger, because I felt insecure and I lacked confidence, and I wasn't perhaps as interesting or as smart as other people, or I didn't feel I was too insecure, and so I kind of tended to, I think, gravitate towards people that were more dominant. So the focus was kind of taken away from me, kind of thing. Think about the people that you're around, and just think about why that is. What is it that why are you friends with some people? Why are you, what is it really about? And I think for me, I've always been looking for deeper analysis of things. Since I was like 13, 14, I've always been like that. I've always, what's going on here? What's really the actual, genuine, even if it's uncomfortable, the true, gritty, brutal nature of things. That doesn't always necessarily mean it's bad, but it's just, I guess maybe in some ways I didn't know myself, and I didn't know what I wanted to be and who I wanted to be, or what I was really in terms of my personality, until probably really 5-10 years ago. But you're always learning about yourself as you go along in life, so you never really truly know. We'll say, I went to Asia to go and find myself or whatever, but it's like, I think you can start to find a version of yourself at that point, but you never truly know yourself. You don't know yourself. You don't know your 80-year-old self, do you? You don't know your 50-year-old self. You only know as much as you know at any given point. You can't just jump 20, 30, 40 years into the future necessarily. You might be right about some predictions that you make about yourself, but you're never going to be completely accurate. No one's got a crystal ball. But you certainly should try to avoid being something that you don't want to be in the near future, decades from now. Right, so we're coming on to now. Let me just make one more point about number 11, your friends and partner. You kind of attract what you are, really, sometimes. People say opposites attract, but yes, that is true to a certain degree, but I think there's an element of yourself that you're attracted to as well. You're certainly attracted to the things that you lack. You're certainly attracted, that's very sexually appealing, I think, to a lot of people. But not just sexually, but the intellectually stimulator, psychologically stimulating. There's certain things that you see in other people that you might not quite have as much of, you might not have at all in yourself. So, you can't. I guess people are looking for something to complete themselves, to give them some sense of a whole being. It gives you this fulfillment in yourself, I think, and I think that can cause you a lot of problems and headaches if you're not careful, because I get it. I understand why people do that, because I've done it myself. You've got to be very, very careful, because you can end up attracting everything about yourself that you despise about yourself as well, or you severely dislike, or you're very insecure about, and it comes to light in other people, and that can cause bitterness, and I think eventually you would kind of, that's probably why to some extent why relationships don't work, because you start to see yourself in that person, whereas initially you didn't see yourself in that person. or you fear things about yourself in that other person that you're going to become, or that you are even, and it can become a recipe for disaster, and a very difficult thing to have to deal with, and usually ends up in months, if not years, of therapy to try and get yourself out of, if not worse consequences. Number 12, living in the past will destroy. So yeah, so there's this. It's okay to have moments of reflection, and to ponder on what's been, what's gone, and to enjoy those memories and things that you felt, things that you thought, things that you had in the past. But there has to be a switch that comes on in your head. I think that's the best way to put it, or to compartmentalize it anyway, at the very least. You have to be able to switch it on and off, or put it away at some point. You can't live in that state all the time. You just can't do it. It doesn't serve you any well, and it won't help you. It won't help you to become a better version of yourself. So yes, it's good. It's nice to have memories to look back on, just as it's nice to have videos or photos or things that you can look back on and reminisce over with friends, family, whatever. But especially if they're really like poignant things, like really, like especially during like main, like important life stages, or like just certain key things that happened in certain years, months, times of your life, or certain like very emotionally driven memories. Those can lead you into very deep state, very debilitating, psychological debilitating states of depression that you don't want to find yourself in, because you just can end up in a cycle, and you can just inflict upon yourself a lot of misery if you do that. So yes, have your memories, reflect, reminisce, whatever, but learn to separate the present from the past. As it sounds obvious, but they're two very, very different things. The 20-year-old me is not the 34-year-old me. The 10-year-old me certainly wasn't the 20-year-old me, and the 50-year-old me probably won't be the 34-year-old me. So yes, of course, there's things that you carry on. There's things that you take with you over the years. There's some things that don't entirely change. There's certain things about it that will stay with you as you get older and older. But you are changing, whether you like it or not. And you might not even see it in yourself, but other people do. And certainly parents do. They certainly see some things change, and people that have known you since you were young, if they stick around long enough, which unfortunately for me, a lot of people haven't. They've had families, and they've had new friends and whatever, and they've moved on with their lives and whatever. So just and then as well, the past wasn't quite as good as you think it is. We all do it. We're all guilty of it. We all put on the rose-tinted glasses from time to time. We all do it. We all look back and say, "Oh, that time was better than this time." But I mean, when you start looking at it a bit deeper and being honest about things, and are ready to be honest, it's like you realise, yes, some things were better than now, in some ways. But I suppose really it's more about where you were mentally, emotionally, physically, whatever, spiritually, could even say, at any given point, rather than not necessarily the memory, but the feeling that the feeling attached to those memories is what you miss. I think probably more. It's the way you felt. So it's and as well, things probably were not quite what you think they were entirely. So that is perhaps one of the biggest things that I've had to deal with and had to accept this year, and it's a hard thing to really, really hard thing to accept. It's very, very difficult to let go of the past. That's probably one of the hardest things that you'll do psychologically as you get a bit older. It's really hard. That it's really, really sad sometimes as well. But you've got to you've have your moments and move on. That's the best thing you can do. Come to terms with who you are. Yeah, there's no don't live in denial. Don't try and don't put on a don't become a clown. Don't become a source of entertainment for yourself or for other people just for the sake of it, or because there's something severely damaged within yourself, and that's your way of trying to. I mean, look, if you find that you think it's a healthy way of dealing with things, that's whatever. That's your prerogative. That's your choice. But I just think that you have to grapple with your own flaws, imperfections. There's things I don't like about myself. I don't like the fact just from physically speaking, I don't like the way my eyebrows look. I don't like the way my nose look. My lips are a bit chunky. I don't particularly like the way my beard grows. I've got bags under my eyes now. I never really liked my shape of my head. I've had to have. I'm very insecure about my right foot because I had to have surgery on it. I had to have a nail removed. It's pretty gross, but it's it just is what it is. Wasn't taking care of myself back in 2009, and it's my own fault. So there's certain things that we've all made mistakes. We've all been carefree and careless at times of our lives, and we've all done things that we regret and are not particularly happy about. We're all insecure about something. That's why I'm wearing this hat, for example, because I'm insecure about the way that my hair looks at the moment. It is growing out, albeit very slowly, which is really annoying. So we're all insecure about something. We all are. It's just a fact of life. We all have some insecurity. And I don't want to generalize or stereotype women, but let's be honest about it. A lot of the time, women do wear makeup because they're insecure about certain imperfections of their skin, or they want to feel confident, and there's nothing wrong in that. And I understand it. That's why I'm wearing my hat, because I feel more confident about myself making this video. That's why I don't show that's why I don't usually, when I go to a public swimming pool in a hotel or whatever with my wife, generally speaking, I don't like being seen without my I don't really like going in swimming pools because I don't like people seeing my feet. I'm insecure about that. My right foot, only because one nail's missing, and the nail that's replaced it doesn't look as good as the one that was there before. I'm sorry to be kind of overshare, but that's something I'm insecure about. I'm just using it as an example. And I'm insecure sometimes about the way my nails look. I cut my nails too short, but that's the way I kind of like them, but I'm insecure about it. So, we're all messed up, we're all fucked up about something. We're all messed up about, maybe we're insecure about the fact that we don't have enough friends, or we don't quite have the job that we want, or we don't make as much money as some of our friends or family make. Maybe we're insecure because we're not quite as good in our jobs as we should. Maybe we're slightly incompetent in certain ways. Maybe we're not quite as educated as we could be. Personally speaking, we're not as intelligent. So those are things I'm insecure about. But I've come to terms with that. But I've also tried to do things about it as well. So I think that's my advice: is don't just settle on those insecurities. Try to do something about it. You're not going to get rid of them completely, but try and find something that can help you mediate. Try to find something that helps you to manage those insecurities in some way, rather than taking them out on people and that it's got nothing to do with them really, and people can smell it anyway. People know when you're insecure about certain things, and that doesn't exactly instill confidence in yourself or other people. So, sometimes you do. I think my ex used to say like fake it till you make it, and she was right about that. I think sometimes you do have to. Don't put everything on show. Don't reveal all the. Don't, even if you are insecure, don't let everybody know about it. It's got nothing to do with anybody else anyway. That's your personal stuff, and as well, it's nobody else's problem. Whether unless it is, because sometimes it could be. There might be certain things that, in some ways, that people are not helping you. They're kind of like teasing you about certain insecurities, whatever. That's kind of a bit shitty. But ultimately, it is down to yourself to get a hold of yourself and how you feel about your insecurities. We all have them, tough shit kind of things. But you've got to be cruel to be kind in some ways. Sometimes deal with it. Find some way of dealing with it. Whatever it takes. Don't make your imperfections and flaws and inabilities and incompetence necessarily everything other people's problems and make excuses. If it's actually down to yourself, be an adult, be mature and get your shit together kind of thing. Certainly should be in your 30s. If you're discontent with who you are, your life, do some soul searching, psychoanalyze, and see if you can pinpoint when, where, how, these factors that led to that discontent. The amount of times that I've had in my life over the last 15, 20 years, let's say, certainly 15, so 10 to 15 years, where I've felt very discontent with my life and very, very miserable. And I know what it is. It's because I didn't, partly because I didn't try hard enough at school. Now I have a degree, so I've kind of, to some extent, kind of done something about it. I wasn't happy in my job, so I left it. I did the whole private thing for a number of years, and now kind of got bored with that, not happy with that, so I'm changing that again, go back into full-time work again now, partly because I finished my degree, but also because I want to change and I'm bored with my life, so I want to do something else. And the fact that I was insecure, discontent with the fact that I didn't have enough money, so I'm doing something about that. So, pinpoint what's happened and why it is. It's partly because the truth is, I grew up in a working class environment, a low socioeconomic situation, surrounded by people with no ambition, no real desire to see their children, I don't think, do any better than they did, kind of thing. I could be wrong, but that's what I think. And just loads and loads of things, and just being told that you're not good enough and you're crap, and this over the years, and so low self-worth, low self-confidence, and so you just end up with this. You become your own worst enemy, you become your own worst critic, and you start to lack the things that are needed to get by in society and do well, and you find yourself in situations with people that you shouldn't have ever gotten yourself into, and you did deserve better, but you didn't feel like you did deserve better, so you settled for less. Don't make the mistakes I've made. Okay, so we're coming towards the end of this now, hopefully. So we've got over 19 things to go through. Yeah. Okay, so love and loss are both temporary. Both have expiration dates, therefore love those that matter as much as you can, while you can. Things happen at certain stages of your life because of the fact that you are in that stage of your life. People that have been married for years and years, they're married at a time that things kind of clicked and connected. Maybe it's because they had there's all sorts of things that can align at certain points in your life. Where it's, it could just be looks. You're physically attractive. You look, you're in the peak of your life. You look readily available, and you are, for dating, for having children, for starting a family, and love and loss doesn't necessarily just mean about relationships with people. It could just be, could be anything. It could be it could be with some technology. It could be with a home. It could be a place where you've lived. But things tend to only align at certain points, and over time, it's like a kind of like a, how would I describe it? It's like some kind of like mechanical action or something where this something only comes round every so often, or there's some kind of like a, the best way I could describe it is like one of these like musical things that you see on YouTube. These long drawn out what they call them, polyrhythms, where things line up every so often. It's kind of like that. I think that's what they call polyrhythms. These like long drawn out videos where there's a limited amount of notes, and this kind of they come into sync at a certain point and they go out of it and so forth. And that's life really. That's I think that's better. Probably could have chosen a better analogy, but that's the best thing I can think of at the moment. So things come and go. Jobs might only work out for a certain length of time. You might have a good career, but you eventually get bored of it. You get tired of that. You want to move on, do something different. You have a marriage that works out for a certain number of years, whatever, and but over time you start changing because you're getting older and your priorities change and your interests change, and you want something new, you want something different because you've changed. You're not quite the same person you was when you met that person, and so things change. Things just have a natural way of developing, and you have to at some point start making decisions and choices, and even if you don't, things will just change anyway. Whatever the case might be, even if you're together forever, so eventually someone's going to pass away. But generally speaking, things don't usually last. Of course, nothing lasts forever, but things usually have a set period of time. Your job might work out for a number of years, and then you get fired or you resign for whatever reason. You get along with your co-workers, and one of them leaves and gets replaced by some twat that you don't like, and so it becomes intolerable, or they don't like you for whatever reason, whatever it might be. Your relationship starts to become kind of tiresome, boring. So you end up breaking up or getting a divorce, whatever it might be. Your friends start having children, and they start being whatever. So things sort of start to drift away and pitter, slowly, sort of drift off into oblivion, kind of thing, things are what they are, and you can't always do a lot of things. You can't always do a lot about it. You can try your best to maintain things as long as you can, but going back to what I think I said earlier at some point, you have to know when to let go of things. There's no point just going around in a circle again and again and again and again and again and again, month after month, year after year. If it's not going anywhere, it's not doing anything. It's not. I think if you're working towards something and you have something, if there's something there that's worth keeping, then try. But even then, that there are things that happen along the way that are unexpected, or even things that are expected. People die. You have a new manager that you don't like, whatever it is. The company goes bust. The economy goes to shit, whatever it is. Your money's not quite as well. You get tired of living in this place. Your phone breaks. You just hate your job. You just don't like it anymore. You don't want to do this anymore. You have someone has a breakdown, and someone starts having an existential crisis. whatever it is, and things just like that. It just snaps and things change, and there's often quite a lot of the time no going back from it. But again, embracing change, that's something that you can either spend your time trying to fight against things, or you can try and spend your time dealing with it and accepting it, and try and make something positive and good out of it. That's really all you've got in the end. That's life. That is what life is. That's basically life in a nutshell, really. Death has your name on it. There's a certain day, time, week, month, year, decade, where you will just not be in existence anymore. Your consciousness will end. That's the end of your life. That's the end of you. As far as I know, I don't think there's any kind of realm beyond the physical one, but I don't know. I guess you could say a kind of a somewhere between an atheist and an agnostic. Doesn't really make sense, but somewhere like I tend to think that I'm an agnostic, but I think the older I get, I tend to be finding myself being more drawn towards the atheist side. But I don't know. I don't know. Is the truth. I don't know if there's anything beyond this world. I don't think there is. Maybe there is, possibly, but I very much doubt it. But having said that, doesn't mean that you can't. That doesn't mean that you can't believe in something if you want to, or follow something that gives you some kind of some jewel to your life, some gem to your life, and whether that's naive or endlessly optimistic and eternally naive, whatever. If whatever works for you, crack on. Do whatever gives you some sense of peace and a sense of warmth and joy and love and some kind of spiritual substance to your life, whatever you want to call it. It's like it gives you some reason to stay happy, to try and be happy, to stay alive, basically. But just but remember that there will be a day where your life will come to an end, and it could be when you're ready. You may very well be ready to die at that point. I've kind of come to terms with my own death in some ways. I don't particularly fear death that much anymore. I think I would like to die in my sleep if I could choose my death, and like most people, I certainly don't want to die of any kind of long drawn out miserable existence where I've got some terminal illness where I have to tolerate horrible medicines and whatever treatments for months or years on end. But I don't know what the future holds for me. I don't know. I hope that it's not that, but I don't know. I hope it's not, and I hope it's not for you. So make the best of your life while you can. While you've I once saw something on a restaurant somewhere once, and it said like, live your best life while you've still got teeth, kind of thing. And I think that's it's funny, but it's true. You live your life while you're young, and while you or even just while you still can, while you've got the energy, while you've still got life in you, really. Because you're a long time old, and you're a long time dead. So accept that you're going to die. Hopefully in peace and in solitude, and when you're ready to die, I hope that I'm ready to die when I have to face my mortality, which we all do, and we all face our mortalities in steps, and as you get older, more and more, that's a reality that we all have to. This is something that we all have to face at some point, and whether that's dealing with a dying relative, a pet, whatever it might be, And just really just in everyday life, we see things all the time. We see the nature of existence, the nature of this world when things die on us. Things don't last forever. A plant dies. A tree gets cut down. Someone that you cared about gets an illness and passes away. Your relatives, your parents, uncles, aunties, grandmothers, grandfathers, your friends over time. And eventually you will have to. Yeah, I mean, my hope is that either that you don't know anything about it, or that it's a peaceful death. That's the only thing I can hope for myself and for you, and certainly for my family and people that I've cared about and loved over the years, and people that I still care about. I don't see them anymore, but I wish that those people have long lives, and when they do die, that it's peaceful, that it's painless, and that they can find inner peace in those moments. Okay, friendships, relationships come and go. Yep, that's just a fact of life. You've got to deal with that. Expect. Try to be optimistic and positive, but don't be naive. Have a degree of pessimism. Have a degree of skepticism and negativity about you, but don't let that override everything. And sometimes it's good to let friendships and relationships go as well, because it gives you a chance to grow and to meet new people. That doesn't mean you can't try at some point to rekindle things, but don't pressure people, and don't. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. If it's not, let it go. Live with your memories. And if a relationship's if it's not meant to be, don't beat yourself about it. Don't waste years contemplating it, what you did or what you didn't do, what you said, what you didn't say. There's just not enough time for that. Life's too short. Find somebody else if you can, or at the very least, work on yourself. Life's just too short. And again, that thing of living in the past, it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. Money can buy you happiness. It can be a friend. But it can also be your worst enemy. Be careful what you wish for. Be careful the kind of job you want, career, lifestyle, and the life choices that you make, based on the money that you have, or the money that you want, or money that you don't have even. Money's it's a necessity. It's just whether we can all debate whether money's meaningless or not, and you could say in its physical sense it has no meaning really. It has no worth at all really. It's only because we say it does, that we give it some worth and some value to it, that it means anything. But in our society, unfortunately, we have to play the game, and we need to have money to basically survive and to get by, and to have the life that we want, or rather the life that we don't want to have, in the sense of avoiding certain things by having money. But just be very careful, because money can. There are problems with everything, whether it's what social class you belong to, what financial bracket you fall into. There are always problems, whether you're working class, middle class, upper class, whatever, you're rich, poor, whatever. It's just it's everything. Every situation has its issues and problems, and there's no getting away from that. Don't make your life all about money, because before you know it, it'll be over with. And yes, money's great. It can give you a lot of things. It can give you comfort. It can give you things that you want or you need. But don't make your entire existence or your personality about money, because that's not. Yes, money can make you attractive to people, but it can also be the thing that people are primarily attracted to as well. So be very careful about that. Choose your work, career very carefully. no one likes waking up early, every day of the week, going to do something that they don't want to do, be around people they don't want to be around. I've been there, done that. It's just self-explanatory, really. And again, the thing of choose your work career very carefully. It kind of links to the money thing as well, because you might have the job that you want, you might have the money, but it's like it can become all about the money, and that applies to whether you have just a general job career or a really high paying one. It can become all about, if you're not careful, your priorities can be skewed, and you can't just be all about money. You have to have other motivators. There have to be some kind of internal drivers. That you have to. There has to be some kind of a purpose to your existence. There has to become some kind of a reason for what you do, rather than just making money. And if it is just about making money for you, well, that's fine. But I just think that's a kind of a bit of a shallow, hollow, kind of a meaningless existence, in my opinion. It's like, yeah, okay, if you've got a family, then you need the money for but I just think if you're solely driven by money only, I think you're going to be incredibly unhappy over time, because you're just chasing that for the sake of getting that thing, rather than getting fulfillment, satisfaction from what you do to get that money. I think that going home, getting up in the morning and going home and being alone with your own thoughts at night, or in times of life, reflective, melancholy states, is you've got to be able to look yourself in the eyes at some point. And I don't think that money is always the answer to everything. It shouldn't be your primary main drive for everything in life, I don't think. For the most part, very few people should know. Yeah, and this I've learnt this from experience and from making mistakes. There are just certain things that you shouldn't share with people. Certainly, people you know very little about. If you're going to share things, even with your friends, I think there should be some things that you keep back, in my opinion, because it just opens a can of worms, and I don't know. It's difficult because you should be able to be completely open and transparent, but I think as I said before, I think there should always be some kind of an air of mystery about yourself, in my opinion, especially when it comes to relationships, because I think that can keep them alive, and it can keep friendships alive, that they don't know everything about you. Not everything has to be made into a social media post or a video, as I make this one, interestingly enough. But you know what I mean. It shouldn't. You can't share every deep emotion, thought, controversial views about everything, because I think you need to have a friend within yourself. I think that's probably might be the better way to put it. Someone that you can go to, someone that you have a real private connection to within yourself. That's important for life. And a deeper version of yourself, a hidden version of yourself that very, very few, if any, people know about or should know about, because that's you. That is a part of yourself that you're going to need later on in life. I'll leave it at that. The next one was sex is a great human asset. Okay, yeah, just be careful with sex, because people use it for all sorts of reasons. There's all sorts of manipulative things that come along with sex, and I'm not just talking about one night stands and being horny or whatever, or just being sort of infatuated and just sort of wanting to get your freak on kind of thing with some stranger that you've met. I think even more so this applies to those that long-term relationships. Certainly in the beginning, this is something you've got to be very careful about, with men and women, because it can be a very manipulative tool, very controlling tool that you've got to be very, very careful of. And I think even more so is when you start to get into long-term relationships, and certainly marriages, and probably when kids come along into the picture, you start having a family. It can become very toxic. Sex can be it can be a great thing in the right moments, but it can also be a tool that's used for. It's a leverage kind of thing. It can be a head game kind of thing. It can be a head fuck kind of thing. You've got to watch out with that. I think especially as a young guy as well, don't let women try and dominate you in that way and try and control you, because I think that's what a lot of younger women, because they try to use their looks and the fact that they're in their peak of their life to try and dominate your psychological vulnerability or whatever as a guy. Have power over them. And empower yourself. Don't let other people try to people try and preying on you, I guess you could say, is what I think is essentially what it is. That's what sex essentially is. It's this predatory prey kind of very primal aspect of human nature. That yes, it's obviously we need it to reproduce. But I mean, besides from that, a lot of the time it's used against people. It's used for things. At least, you could say, well, people have a people raise their eyebrows about prostitution and all that kind of thing, especially over here where it's very popular, for good or bad reasons. But you could say, well, at least that's more honest and open and genuine. Okay, yes, it's just a transaction. It's just essentially. It's like it's a consumer thing, isn't it? Really, it's just like, I want this. Well, I want this. Okay, let's share. Let's shake on the deal, kind of thing. And that's that. So it's kind of more honest, and that's kind of sometimes why I don't blame men for doing it, because it's more. It's at least it's more. It's a more honest sexual experience in a way, because it's just like you're doing it because you want. For men anyway, it's because they want the sexual activity. But it's not just about the sex. It's about the intimacy. It's often about this a loneliness to yourself. There's something. I think there's a lot of in a lot of men. There's a really deep yearning for something that you can't quite put your finger on it. You can't quite put your. It's difficult to explain what it is, but there's just something not there that you've got to fill. And I think that's why men, a lot of the time, they tend to be so hyper focused on certain things, whether it's women, whether it's the gym, whether it's their job, and trying to climb the ladder kind of thing. There's something often. There's a drive in men. There's a real emptiness in men. I think that's partly because we can't physically, we can't get pregnant. We can't bring our own children. We're not physically connected to our children throughout, the pregnancy kind of thing. I think there's something partly to do with that. I'm guessing. So, and the sense of we don't, women. I think for the most part, a lot of women probably want to have children, or at least think about it. Whereas a man, it's like, because you don't have that. It's an impossibility. It's just not a real thing. Instead we have to think we have to put all we have to put our eggs in other baskets kind of thing. Anyway, that was a complete tangent there, but yeah, just be careful with sex, because it's not always what you think it is. There's often more things going on then you realise. Not always. Sometimes it just is that people just want to have sex because it feels good, but it's often it's more of a psychological thing, I think, for the most part, than it is a physical thing. Even for men, I would say as well. Okay, I'm going to get through the rest of these. This video is definitely coming to an end in the next probably 15-20 minutes. I'm sorry it's so long, but I probably won't be making another one of these for years to come, I would imagine, unless I get, for me, a lot of the time I've got to feel inspired, I've got to feel motivated, it's got to be the right time, I've got to feel a certain way, things have got to kind of align in many ways for me to make videos. I always get ideas of making videos and, I want to talk about this, I want to do this, but I just don't feel like it, so I have to feel that things are right, really, and that's not really a way to deal with life, but anyway, that's a whole other, that's one of my major flaws. Okay, so we're at 22. You are only as good as your social class, genetics, upbringing, education, experiences allow. Well, that's it's true and not exactly true. It's for the most part it is. Yes, of course you can try to climb up the social ladder in certain ways, but you're always going to be seen by other classes as or the same class as what you are, really. Especially in England. I think this more tends to link really with Britain, really, or certainly in England, probably more than anywhere else. So it's kind of similar over here in Thailand as well. There are just certain things, for the most part, of course there are exceptions, for the most part, that, generally speaking, your social class kind of in some ways dictates certain things for your lives in some ways, not entirely, but for the most part it does, and certainly your education does, and certainly your experience does. Your experiences do, and your upbringing as well. They're probably your experiences and upbringing are two of the most important things. What did I write here? Besides that, you must work your ass off to climb up the societal ladder. That's true. That is true. Yes, you can kind of climb your way out of certain things, but you're always going to, unless you're delusional or you're really insecure about your status, your social class, your socioeconomic status, whatever, then for the most part, you'll be seen as what you are. Certainly in the West, certainly in America, where everything's competition and got to be the best man, number one. And certainly in England, where everything's a lot more kind of low key, but it's still everything's about knowing your place, kind of thing. People trying to get you to know your place, put you in your place. Knowledge, education, both vital, but experiences. Yeah, I think experience really trumps everything, and observations do. Those are the things that will give you your wisdom ultimately. Yes, you can learn as much as you want, be educated as much as you want, but unless you observe and take notes and really learn about yourself, about how things work, and really squeeze out all of the juice of the experiences that you have, you won't learn anything. You'll never learn anything. You'll never mature. You'll never grow. You'll never really reach any real wisdom in life. Criticism, self-criticism, pessimism, honesty, healthy doses of skepticism will serve you well if you learn to master them properly. Yeah. So, it's okay to be a bit pessimistic and skeptical of people and places and things and situations, opportunities, whatever it might be. Be critical, but don't go to the extremes. Manage those things, because if you can manage them, you'll get the best out of things. But if you go too far to one way or the other, to the extremities, that's not going to help you in any way, shape or form. You'll never ever be perfect. That's true. For the most part, when in yourself you're not perfect, but in other people's eyes, you don't often realise how other people look at you, in the sense of how people judge you, criticize you, whether openly or not, or direct or indirect. People's perceptions of you are very different from your own. Even when you're being brutally honest with yourself, people often can say things about you that you've not quite thought through and have not quite really fully understood, and sometimes that's difficult. So you do have to take other people's criticism, pessimism on board. Actually, sometimes that's in that, and being skeptical of you, because that means that you've got to show whether you're competent or not, and if you're not, then you've got to work on that. That's the way it goes. That's the world that we live in. I wish it wasn't. I wish things were different, and people just accepted you as you are, and you didn't have to put on a show for people, and you didn't have to be something that you're not. But that's the way it is, for the most part, unless you're very lucky. But certainly in your parents' eyes, they'll always see you as that baby, as that teenager, as that young person, and they'll never see you as they'll never truly see you as an older person, an older man and woman. You're always going to be a baby in their eyes, because for starters, they're always going to be older than you. But they're just the perceptions of you are very different to those of other people, certainly people at work and strangers. Even your friends, actually. And actually, friends sometimes see you very differently to your parents, and actually, probably your friends probably see you. That your parents have known you for longer, but your friends probably know more about your different sides of your personality than your parents do. Your parents only know a certain version of yourself, whereas your friends, especially if you've known them for a long time, they tend to see more of a whole version of you, whereas your parents tend to I think they have a much more naive perception of you. But you'll always be their baby in their eyes. Enjoy that fact. Enjoy that kind of magic almost. Enjoy that connection that you have with your parents, because it's special. It's very special, and it's very fleeting. Because of your parents, before you know it, your memories fade and things change, and your parents get older, and what they're doing, and the rest. Okay, it's okay to say I'm broken. The amount of times I haven't done that in my life, the amount of times I've done myself a disservice by not being real and honest and open myself, I've struggled, and I've got problems, and I'm not well, and I need help, and I'm not as wise, I'm not as smart, I'm not as educated, I'm not as good as I might like to be. But it's okay to do that. It's okay to say I'm desperate. I need change. I need advice. I need some help. I need a path. I need someone to give me some reason or something. Yes, you do need to motivate yourself, but sometimes you need that little push from someone. That can be that, you don't realise sometimes how important a little bit of advice, or even something that wasn't intended to be advice, just a passing remark, a comment can be to someone. That can be really powerful to some people, especially for me. It has been over time. Take on board, really listen to people, be active, be in the present when people are saying things to you, because you don't always know what you're going to remember. There's always things that can come back to you later on in life that it's like, oh, why have I remembered that? And when you think about it a little bit, it's like, I didn't really think about that. I never really thought. It's like, yeah, maybe they were right. Maybe I was this. Maybe I wasn't enough of this. Whatever. Maybe I did need help. Maybe I really was broken. And yeah. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to turn the light on because it's getting dark here, and I'm going to go through the remaining of these, which shouldn't take very long at all, and that will be the end of this video. So, this is going to clearly be over a 2-hour long video. This wasn't meant to be this. It was only meant to be like an hour and a half. But you can't always. There was just so much to get through with this stuff. Really, it was never going to be a short video. But I certainly didn't think it was going to take this long. But let's go through the last few points and let's draw this to a close. Finally. Okay, so we are at point or lesson or advice, whatever you want to call it. 27. I actually put on point 26, the point about being broken. I said this is where wisdom comes from. It's a place of desperation, need for change, need for new habits to be formed, etc. So 27, exercise can be one of your best friends. Make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. You have discipline. A lot of times I've started exercise and then I've given it up after a few days, a few weeks, a few months, whatever. Exercise is probably one of those things where it's one of those things that unless you're doing something that you really actually genuinely like, it's very, very easy to give into it because it's hard, it's painful, it sucks. Nobody really likes doing basic exercise stuff like sit-ups, press-ups, and so forth. Unless you're a freak of nature and you just genuinely love it. Which look, some people just do have a passion for exercise, and that's I'm jealous of people like that because I wish I was like that, but I'm not. Again, going back to the flaws thing, I just know that that's who I am, and I've struggled with my weight. I've struggled with maintaining discipline and motivation. It's not so much as the exercise. It's the discipline of doing it. It's getting yourself to do it, and then it's keeping that momentum going. That's what I've found extremely challenging over the years. I find it virtually impossible. I can start something, I can certainly do it for a period of time, but then I get tired of it, I get bored of it, and that's why I just say I draw a line under it and just say, well, that's that. I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to be able to keep doing it. I haven't got. And so, you have to find some kind of exercise, because exercise kind of does help with discipline. Because if you can maintain something for long enough, it becomes a habit, and it forms a new kind of what do they call it? Like a connection, a synapsis, or whatever the word is, like just like forms like a new connection in the brain, and it becomes a habit. So you've got to find something that works for you. Just because you see these things of I recommend doing this, or 5 of these, or 10 sets of this, or this for 30 minutes. That might work for that person, and that's great. If it does, good for you, But you have to be real with yourself and say, well, I've tried that, done this, that doesn't work, not for me, that's too painful, that's too unrealistic, or whatever, don't really want to do that, whatever. Let's just be honest about it. And then you've got to say, okay, well, what could work? What might work? Maybe doing some swimming, maybe doing some cycling, doing a bit of running, maybe not trying to push yourself too much. Maybe try not to be so hard on yourself and not be too demanding, to putting too much pressure on yourself all the time. Because ultimately, I think that's what it comes down to ultimately in the end. It's not the exercise of the problem. It's how you look at it and it's how you feel about it. That's the thing that's hard to overcome. That's the thing that's difficult to change, because it's so ingrained in yourself, and because you've had this mentality, this attitude for so many years. It's virtually impossible to change it. So I think at a certain point you just got to say, okay, I'm going to draw a line under that. That hasn't worked for me. Admittedly, it's my own fault, but I'm going to do something different or try something else. That might work. That might work for me. That might be better. I might be able to maintain that for longer. And I think if you can do that, then you might have more success, rather than just continuing to keep doing the same thing again. I'll try better this time, I'll try harder. But you won't. Because it's up here, there's something that you've got to change. Or it's just that particular thing. maybe you just can't do it. There are certain things that you just can't do, or you can't stick at it for long enough at least. So don't bother. Don't bother with it. Don't waste your time. Do something else. Do something that you actually enjoy doing, because that's what matters. That's what's the thing that'll see you through. I love cycling. I really love it. I love swimming. I love walking. Those are like things that when it stops raining here over the next few weeks, that's what I'll be doing again. But it's a bit depressing at this time of year. September is always a really wet month here in town, so you can't go outside for very long because it's raining most of the day throughout this month, even into October, sometimes November. Anyway, so that's that. So get your discipline in check. Don't keep doing the same things if it's not working for you. Just do something else. Try something else. I think that isn't it what they say? Doing the same thing over and over again is the definition of insanity. It's true. It's very true. So just don't. Give it up. Give it in. Just say, fuck it. That's not working. It's never going to work. Let's just be real about it. Let's move on. Right? That's the best thing you can do. Let's move on. Try something else. And keep doing that until you find something that works for you. That's it. All ex-lovers or ex-partners will teach you things, give you opportunities, experiences. Take that forward onto bigger, better things. Don't dwell on them for too long. Again, I've done it. Been there, done that. I've dwelled on things for years and years and years, and I've had all sorts of really honestly emotional baggage and emotional psychological trauma, I guess you could say, that I clung onto for years because I felt that things weren't fair and that things weren't right and that I didn't get enough of a chance with some people in the past that I felt that I should have had more of a chance with, and that people lied to me, and the people that I wanted to try and have a relationship I didn't get the chance to. That's hard on me sometimes. I find that really that's I'm not bitter about it, but I do feel depressed about that sometimes because and I'm not trying to come across as you think like there's some sort of role model, some perfect specimen as a guy or something, and it's not like an egotistical thing. It's just that I felt that I just didn't get a chance. I was rejected, I guess, and I didn't get. And I think men tend to find rejection very difficult anyway, especially when you're very young. When you're a very young man, your ego gets in the way, and I don't know. There's something about rejection that fucks men up. I don't know what it's all about. I don't think it's just about ego. I think American men especially tend to have very big egos, very overly confident. I think it's because they're told that the world's theirs kind of thing. It's like the world revolves around them kind of thing. It's like it's a man's world kind of attitude. They can do whatever they want. They can get whatever they want, and you work out. You suddenly realise that you can't. That's life, But it's not just. It happens to women as well. Women get rejected all the time. How many women wanted some guy that didn't get the chance to do? So it's not. I think you have to pull it out of your ass at some point and stop feeling sorry for yourself. And it just. The way I've had to deal with it, feel about it, is to just say that it probably wouldn't have worked out anyway. Say not, probably. And when you look at how some of those people's lives have panned out, I'm kind of glad that it didn't work out and I didn't get the chance, because I wouldn't have wanted to have the existence that those people have now. So, what is it the same? What goes around comes around, or whatever it is. Good luck to those people, and they know who they are. You can have your kids and all that. Not interested. Okay, let's move on to the last. The remaining ones now. Always maintain a dual personality. I think that's important for many aspects of life. Certainly work, definitely. I'd learned from some very bad experiences, very, very, very naive, poor choices that I made in my last job. No one gives a shit anyway. Just go to work, do what's expected of you to meet the requirements to get your salary, and then go home. Just that's all it is. If you're gonna share your personal stuff with people, share it with the people that actually care about you, because there's no point going to work and being depressive and bringing the moody energy down or whatever. Because I've done that again. Got the t-shirt. It doesn't work out well for you in the end, and it's probably one of my biggest regrets. But you live and learn, and it's not like I didn't know at the time, but I shouldn't. You've got to know when to separate. You've got to be two different people. And I hate to say that, but you do a lot of the time, unless it's a job where you can. But even then, I would say hold something back, hold certain things back, really personal, private stuff. Trust me, it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. Keep it to yourself. Share it with your closest friends and your family. Or ChatGPT. Music, art, architecture, culture matter. So do values, norms, social norms, certain social norms. Preserve the good sides, stuff at all costs, and those most vulnerable things threatened, especially these days by communists and the woke brigade and all that lot. There's certain things that we should conserve, we should preserve, for ourselves, but really for the future of humanity. Because I think some things do matter. Some things are important. We can learn a lot from those more deeper aspects of our species and our nature, because those are things that we live for. Those are things that matter. I think more than anything else, I would say those are things that bring life. Yes, it's important to have a routine and to have a purpose, but if you haven't got any culture there, then we might as well be back in the Stone Ages or something. Life's kind of void of anything. It lacks its spark, its magic. There's something very, very important about culture that we have to maintain. I think it's one of the things that we often tend to overlook, but we don't realise just how reliant and how much we value it until it's being threatened or it's gone for good. Okay, 31, aging isn't all that bad if you appreciate how precious life is. Yeah, I'm getting older, I'm getting some grey hairs here and there, I'm getting bags under my eyes, I don't feel as energetic, I don't have as much testosterone as I used to have, don't have as much energy as much anymore, and I can just feel myself getting older, sounding older, certainly looking older. I'm just feeling in my head older, but that's fine. It's okay. I'm still here. I'm still breathing. I've got a fairly decent life, I guess, for the most part. It's not perfect. It's not exactly where I want my life to be, but I'm trying to change things. So it's okay. It's okay to get older. It's okay to let go of your youth. It's okay to get old, to grow old, and not everybody does. Embrace, appreciate the fact that you're alive, because so many babies, young people, children are dying right as I make this video, and will be dying, to the end of our species becomes extinct or whatever. Just appreciate the fact that you're alive, that you've got and especially if you've got your health as well. yes, you might not look as good as you used to. You might not feel. You're not the trendy. You're not the youth anymore. But who cares? So what? He wasn't like, that's only really, you only care about that when you get into your teens and your very young adulthood years. Like after that, it's just a phase you go through. Let it go. Learn to let go of it. There's great, wonderful things about being in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. So, you've been there, you've done that, you've had your time. Great, wonderful. Let other people have theirs. So what? They'll have their phase, and that'll be over for them at some point. So don't get bitter or resentful and jealous of people. I don't want to go back probably anywhere, to be honest. So materialism, consumerism is useful, but it's essentially masked. Yeah, so I've already kind of went into that before. Trust, respect are the two most precious things you have. I think that's often an under. It's not appreciated enough. It's not valued enough in today's world. Trust, without respect, you've got nothing with people. You haven't got anything. You haven't got any connections with anyone. If you can't trust them, they can't trust you. If they don't respect you for whatever it is, and you don't respect them, it's that I think that's why so many people are kind of becoming introverts partly, and why they end up in a long spell of isolation and being kind of withdrawn and reserved from the world, and kind of wanting to kind of go further and further inwards. But in the end, that can be a wonderful experience in many respects, and you can certainly learn a universe of information about yourself. But you're missing out on certain things as well, and that can kind of come to bite you on your ass as you get a bit older. So don't try and be loyal, try and be trustworthy, and gain people's respect, and try and keep those things, because once you've lost those things, that relationship, that friendship's done, it's finished, that connection with someone, it's over with. You might possibly be able to gain something back, but it'll never be the same ever again. I think if you really genuinely trust and respect someone, they'll be by your side, I think, or try to be by the side for you for as long as they can, and they'll have your back, and they'll be honest with you and open and real with you as much as they possibly can. As this is especially the case with men, I've found, but perhaps maybe even in some ways actually more with women. Because women tend to be a lot more sensitive, openly sensitive. But I think with men it's more of a thing of, like, I think Jordan Peterson said something like, it's kind of, there's that thing of men, there's that sense of intimidation and that physical threat of violence. There's always that kind of, well, not every guy, but a lot of men, there's this masculine kind of testosterone fueled, this threat of physical violence. They're always there, present, where it's not like that with women usually. So I think that's why those things tend to be valued a lot more with men. But with women, it's more about protection, security, safety, loyalty, especially when they're having children, having babies, and want their family around. Those things are massively important for children as well. And I know that as a teacher, it's those things are, they're some of the most important things that you can have in life, and even at work, even with co-workers as well. With your boss, if you've got no trust, if no one trusts you, respects you, you're worth nothing really as a man. You're nothing. Choose your regrets. This is the final one. Choose your regrets carefully. already been into that one before, and the five final ones, that the main 5 key lessons or advice, or whatever you would want to label these things as. Your gut instinct will save your life. The amount of times I haven't listened to my gut instinct over the years is shocking and criminal, really. And I don't just mean like, before things escalate, before things get into a bad state, listen to your gut instinct. If there's red flags in a relationship, in a friendship, with siblings even sometimes, whether it's to do with money or it's just whatever it might be. It could be anything. Especially if you're going into a new job or something as well. Be careful with your manager, your boss, your colleagues. Certainly when you're trying to develop a relationship. Look, I'm not perfect. I've made mistakes, as I've said in this video, but I've also been with people that haven't always been forthcoming and honest either. So there's that. And I should have listened to my gut instincts, because I could have saved myself a lot of problems. Time is ticking away, you're not getting any younger. Well, actually not self-explanatory. Mortality is coming for you whether you like it or not. You better just buckle up and accept that reality as long as you can. I think you've got to start getting real with yourself at a certain point in your life. And looking at that clock might be maybe the biggest indicator for you, if not looking at yourself in the mirror at a certain stage. Do you like how you look? Do you like how you feel? If not, do something about it. It's okay to complain. There's nothing wrong with complaining about it. But at the same time, if you're not going to change, if you're not going to do anything about it, I don't really want to hear your complaints. I don't really want to, it's like, how many times can I give somebody advice? Or how many times can somebody give me advice about something? Before they just give in and say, well, I tried, you're too stubborn, you're too this, you're too that. And at times in my life, I have been very stubborn. I've been very naive, very, very ignorant, didn't want to listen, didn't want to change, didn't want to do this. And you find yourself, months later down the line, thinking to yourself, well, we should listen to them. We should listen to my gut instincts. Certain things, there's people and things, situations, opportunities I didn't quite take on, and time goes by, and those things pass, and that's it. They're gone. That's it. Confined to history. Like I said, be careful of regrets you choose. Do you truly know what you are? Again, the same thing. If you're not, then why are you not? Why don't you like yourself? Why are you not where you want to be? What is it? What's holding you back? What obstacles? What barriers are in the way? What things are screwing your chances up? Is it you, completely you, or is it other things? But I suspect it's probably certain aspects of yourself, that some things that you might need to work on. Maybe you can't change them completely, but maybe you can, make adjustments at least, or at least try. Banter, I've gone into that whole thing about banter and differentiating banter and mockery and discrimination, things like that. And there's a difference between someone having a joke and somebody getting on a tangent and hurling abuse and insults at you. But be careful, because sometimes they can be intertwined, especially with passive-aggressive people, and I know that because I've done it myself, and again, I've been on the receiving end of it as well. Don't let others control your emotions, thoughts. Yep, I've for a long time I did not. It's not letting other people. Nobody can control your emotions and thoughts, but you can become resigned to other people's thoughts and emotions. You can let things get to you. You can let things grind you down psychologically, emotionally speaking, and don't fucking let people do that to you. Don't let people try and desensitize you to things, or become so sensitive to things. Don't let people have an influence on you that then creates conditions where you hate yourself. You can't look yourself in the mirror. You don't like anything about yourself. You're always insecure. You're always bitter, resentful. You're always negative about things. You're always, projecting onto other people. You're always making excuses and being angry at the world and other people because of your own issues and problems. But you've let what people have said about you, other people's judgments and criticism, whether they're right or wrong, you've taken things to such an extent that they've essentially kind of controlled you in a way. But you allowed them. You've allowed yourself to be controlled by other people's thoughts and ideas of yourself, or perceptions of yourself that other people might have of you that might not be accurate, that might not be true. And so you feel that you have to live up to other people's expectations because of that, because they think you're this and this and this, whereas really you're not. There comes a point where you just got to be honest with people and say, look, this is who I am, this is what I am. Yes, I do need to change some things, I do need to make improvements. I'm far from perfect. I'm fucked in certain ways. Yes, I've got problems. I'm sorry for the swearing throughout this video, I really am. But I swear when I get passionate and when I want to express myself. So just don't let people ruin your life because of yourself. Don't let yourself be driven by other people's thoughts of you and some preconceived idea of who you are, whatever, that you're probably not, or not quite what people think you are. And finally, you'd be glad to know, find a palace of peace. Find something that works for you, that gives you something to cling on to in this world, because things are always changing. You're always changing, whether you like it or not. Situations are always changing, at least every few years. Things change. You change, your priorities change. How you deal with things changes. You're always going to have new things that pop up. Find something that gives you solace in this world, because a lot of things won't. A lot of things will leave you feeling very disillusioned over time. Will leave you feeling bitterly disappointed with people and things. Maybe your job didn't work out the way it was. Maybe you just couldn't meet other people's expectations of you. Maybe you just wasn't good enough at something. You just couldn't reach something for whatever reason. Things just didn't work out. Things just didn't pan out for whatever reasons. Relationship came to an end. Friendships dwindled. Your health declined. Whatever it is, whatever it might be. Find that thing for you that you can hold on to for the rest of, at least for most of your life. Right now I think for a lot of people it's things like social media, content creation, especially younger people, ASMR, the whole ASMR thing still going strong, sports, music, movies, groups, communities, religion, nature. For me, it's like a combination of kind of a mixture of different things, really. It's music, it's going out into nature, it's just getting out of the house. It's acoustics. Weirdly enough, I really find that kind of quite interestingly soothing. It's kind of, something I guess you would say some kind of spiritual, I don't even know if that's the right word to use, but some spiritual aspect, if you want to call it that, something that kind of transcends this world that we find ourselves in, with all of its fleeting realities and its depths of despair at times, its depths of shallowness and meaningless qualities, you could say, and desperation and this sense of feeling hollow and burnt out as you get older, and feeling lost and lonely. Find something, like I said, a palace of peace for you, and don't let anybody ruin that. Don't let anybody take that away from you. If it works for you, fine. It works for you. Fuck what other people think or say about it, as long as it's legal, of course. But that will help you a lot. That will give you something to hold on to, or give you something to brighten your life up, because by God, life can get dark as time goes on. It really can. So anyway, that's my notebook closed, and there we go. Those were just some of the things that I felt I wanted to share, and some of the key things that I've learned in my life. Again, it's not everything. I've learned a lot of things, but this video's gone for much longer than it ever should have done, and I do apologise for that. But I like to be thorough, and I like to be detailed, and I like to be real and open about these things that matter to me. So that's what I've done. I've tried to do throughout this video. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you've gained something from this video, and I will catch you in another video very soon. Thank you very much. Bye bye.